We feel that a certain level of spending cuts is inevitable to decrease the deficit, and obviously difficult choices have to be made. Our main concern is that the burden of cuts doesn't fall on the most vulnerable communities and the most vulnerable people in our society. Oxfam has specific concerns about cuts to welfare, and we're concerned that this safety net shouldn't be pulled from underneath people's feet.
I think the last 12 months have been a roller coaster ride for many people. There's a lot of anxious disabled people out there, and many families with disabled children worried about what's going to happen as a result of welfare reform and also cuts to services across Wales. We've had proposals out around disability living allowance. The independent living fund has closed to any new applications, so there's a worry about what's going to happen there. Also, the transfer of incapacity benefit claimants to employment support allowance. So there's lots and lots of issues around that, and the actual process that the ATOS are carrying out, so the assessment process. We've heard some quite alarming case studies really of the way people have experienced the assessment process, the way they've been treated, and the results that have taken place basically. It's not over, it's just the beginning. Demos launched a report back last year around the impact of cuts over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. They've given projected targets basically on the number of disabled people that will be affected as a result of these reforms. There'll be 3.5 million disabled people affected across the UK. That's the projection by Demos. So quite worrying situation really for many. We've been gathering our own case studies through our recent cuts campaign around welfare reform, but also services. We're aware of a number of people who've had cuts to their care packages, so a number of hours reduced on a weekly basis. So for example, one lady's had her laundry support taken away, which is crucial to independent living. The impact of that on herself, but also a wider family. And that's just one example. There are lots of examples where disability sports provision, for example, has been cut. So people, again, losing vital support services available to them to enable them to live the way they choose to live. So yeah, we're particularly worried that there's going to be quite a detrimental impact on people's ability to live independently.
In terms of what the UK government can do, we feel there needs to be decent jobs made available that pay enough for people to live on, and as well as that there needs to be access to good quality services and affordable services such as childcare and transport to enable people to access the jobs that are available. We also feel that there are other options to spending cuts. For example, the Robin Hood tax on banks can generate up to £20 billion a year, which could be used to prevent some public spending cuts, prevent job losses, and address poverty not only in the UK but abroad. And it could also be used to help tackle climate change. So we feel that's a positive thing that the UK government could do instead of spending cuts. We're also keen that not only the UK government but the Welsh Assembly government and local authorities have some kind of clear and transparent system in place for assessing the impact of any spending cuts. So a good starting point for that is an equality impact assessment, and that assessment needs to make sure that any spending cuts that are implemented do not impact adversely on vulnerable groups and don't increase inequalities in access to services, assets or in incomes.